Hey, Salut Friends. Today we are looking at a house new to the channel that will be Patchouli 24 from Labo from their standard collection. This is a 2006 release composed by the brilliant Annick Minardo. Now the reason I have not talked about Labo is because I don't own full bottles of a lot of their fragrances. In fact, this is the only one I own. I like the neutral, industrial, minimalistic aesthetic of the brand. Their boutiques even have raw concrete, exposed brick walls, reclaimed wood and metal structures with this unfinished styling. Credits for having a particular signature even after the acquisition by Estee Lauder. The fragrances themselves, on the other hand, are named after natural ingredients with a number count. They are notorious for subverting expectations with the naming, in that the smell does not always reflect the name. They have also been criticized for glorifying the rich hipster lifestyle and creating fragrances without a lot of emotional resonance, and sometimes being gimmicky, even mixing and filling the fragrances at the boutique like a barista. I can certainly see that perspective, but it's their style, business freedom, and our own personal tastes at the end of the day. Though I would not consider myself a big fan of the house at the moment, I do like some of their creations like Thé Noir 29 and Lab 18. Even the infamous Santal 33, dubbed as the scent of New York, I have a soft corner for. I revisited it recently, and it is not a people-pleasing scent at all, as the discourse would lead one to believe. Just like Ganymede, which was very divisive when it launched, and over the years the confirmation bias has set in, and now most people have to like it. Patchouli 24 is also a departure for Annick Minardo in some ways, who since Dior's Hypnotic Poison had moved on to softer, ethereal, resinous woody scents, the likes of Bois d'Argent and Bois d'Harmonie. This is anything but soft. In fact, it is dense and dark, almost like a continuation of her Bulgari Black, where she seemed to be experimenting with using materials to evoke textures and being more abstract. Unfortunately now, she's mainly doing boss bottle flankers. I would have really liked to see more of a creative side with smaller brands. Still one of the best contemporary perfumers nonetheless. Coming back to Patchouli 24, this is one that I discovered during my search for smoky fragrances when I was sifting through the collection of Comme des Garçons, État Libre d'Orange and Serge Lutens in my initial days of getting to know niche fragrances. I had a travel atomizer for a long time before eventually getting a bottle. This one opens sweet, syrupy and smoky, lots of vanilla making its presence known right away, leathery, earthy patchouli peeking out as well, though it is not the dominant note for me as it says on the tin. What is actually dominant is the smoky birch tar. I got to know the particular material from Russian leather fragrances, where it is used to evoke obviously the base leather accord. This one to me does not come across like a leather fragrance per se, but when wearing it, sometimes that association is unavoidable. This intensely smoky, deep, robust black birch tar is the focus as far the actual wearing experience goes. It is joined by incense and styrax, which adds to the smoky, resinous quality of the scent. Quite a base notes heavy scent structure. Many have compared it to barbecue and the smell of campfire. Though I get this chewy, greasy, tobacco, licorice-like nuances in here, I am leaning more toward the campfire side, a kind of ashy, earthy, pungent, comforting, charcoal-like smell that has seeped into a jacket from a campfire the previous night. It is also because of the vanilla, which balances out the smokiness with the sweetness, also seems to play with the texture. Most of these smoky fragrances become extremely dry and at times go in the heavy IBQ or woody ambers direction. This one seems to maintain this sort of balmy, greasy texture, which makes it more pleasant to smell throughout the day. Additionally, I'm getting hints of white florals like jasmine and lily of the valley, which are often used to smoothen the edges and round off dark fragrances, possibly even some cedar in there, bringing in the woody aspects. Patchouli is present throughout, adding this Chypre touch, but it's almost like you have to search for it not a stereotypical earthy green hippie patchouli. This feels almost oily, viscous with a touch of moss. The fragrance does not change much. Intentionally dense, simple and focused direction is what it feels like. In the dry down, the smokiness mellows to some extent with the woody, resinous, vanillic aspects shining through, but that's about it. As for the performance, it is pretty good, lasts over 10 hours for me. The diffusion though is not like what one would think after smelling the opening. It is more moderate and in the later hours feels subdued, like the smoke has seeped into the clothes and you are being enveloped in this ashy black layer of scent. I particularly like the contrasts in this one. It has this rough, rugged, raw outlook on one side, like a dark, dense, black fantasy kind of sensation. But on the other side, it is enigmatic. There is a sense of charm and comfort. The sweetness, balanced with the smokiness, is really pleasant. It is not depressing or monotonous like many other smoky fragrances, and there have been a ton of them since this. Every American indie brand seems to have one. Not to mention the dozens on the niche side. It's almost become a genre tick box at this point. The other subject of contrast is coming across old-fashioned and futuristic at the same time. One minute, it's like an old black lacquered shelf in an ancient Gothic apartment from a neo-noir film, if only it had some aldehydes. The next minute, it feels like a futuristic cyber Chypre, Sin City, Mad Max, applying grease on your forehead kind of setting. These kinds of nuances are what keeps it interesting in spite of not going through a lot of transitions in the traditional sense. This atmospheric, artistic approach it takes is why I really like this one, my favorite Le Labo at the moment. I went through the entire Le Labo collection when I was looking for my first niche fragrance years ago. Since then, I have kind of not paid much attention to them, to be frank. Of course, the ever-increasing prices, the city-exclusive shtick, the limited distribution, and the numerous fakes flooding the online websites have not made it easier. But now that I've kind of gone through most niche brands and collections of fragrances that kept me preoccupied, wearing this has made me interested in revisiting Le Labo fragrances. But for now, this is surely a standout among well-composed smoky scents, a reference one at that even after almost 20 years. So there you have it, my thoughts on Patchouli 24. Thanks for watching, take care and ciao.